Hello, this is Reginald, also known as Brother Teacher. Now we have a story about a young lady, late 20s, Sandra Bland, black, in Texas, in police custody, dying in jail after being in jail for 3 days. What's the reason? She was pulled over by a police officer. I won't get into all of the details as far as mother, father, sister's names, and the police officers' names because that's immaterial at the present. You can do the rest of the study and research on your own because it's been in the media for well over a week. It's been a little over a week since she had died. Well, anyway, from my understanding and my research, Sandra came from Chicago and went to Texas for a job opportunity for a short period of time, maybe a month or so of work there. And at some point while she was there, she's driving down the road and a police officer pulls her over. And she seems to be perturbed at the fact that she was pulled over, a little irate. Now, most of us being pulled over by the police at any time makes us a little unsettled. That's basically been the way black folks have been since we've been in this country called America. Now, I don't think that it's any different in this situation. You're going to be a little upset or nervous when a police officer pulls you over, especially in light of all of the abuse that black folks have been subjected to, especially in the past 10 years or so, by police officers murdering black people all over the United States and basically getting a slap on the wrist. Well, anyway, he pulls Sandra over and she's irate again. I mean, she's not hollering really loud, shouting at him or cursing him out at this point anyway. And he said, you seem to be a little, disturbed. And she told him that she was, for the most part. And he asked her to put her cigarette out. And then she says, I'm smoking in my car. I shouldn't have to put my cigarette out. First thing, why do you ask a person in their vehicle when you pull them over to put their cigarette out? Just a question. You can think about it. Next, he asked her to leave the vehicle, to get out of the vehicle. She refuses. And then he tells her in kind, he says, you get out of the vehicle, I'm going to pull you out of the vehicle if you don't get out. Okay. And she continues to say, I'm not going to get out of the vehicle. And then he told her that she was under arrest. And she said for a traffic violation, basically, improper change of course or not using my signal. Well, anyway, this officer continues to ask her to leave the vehicle. And then he threatens to light her up. And we know he's referring to his taser. Now, we went from a traffic stop that had to do with a turn signal or an improper change of direction without using a turn signal, something along that line, to get out of the car, you are under arrest. Now, whatever happened to the police officer that we were told that as a child they were here to protect and serve the community? How is it that you pull a person in a vehicle, a citizen, over for a routine traffic violation? You end up threatening to light her up with your taser, and you tell her that she's under arrest, but you never told her what the terms were. In other words, you never told her that she had broken a specific law to even be arrested. What is the probable cause? The fact that she was not really nice to you? Is that the reason? Now I'm going to say this now, and I'll probably say it again before the end of this video. Police officers are trained to de-escalate a situation. That police officer did not do that. Instead, he kept adding fuel to the fire, so to speak. And it began to escalate and escalate into more of a shouting match. Now, he finally got her out of the vehicle. She still kept giving him the what for, expressing discontent with the fact that he even pulled her over and suggested that he was going to arrest her for that type of violation. But he never did really say what she was under arrest for. Anyway, she was refusing the arrest. According to the officer, after a backup officer, which was a black female, showed up, according to him, at the back of the vehicle, somewhere around there, he said that the lady kicked him. And later on in the statement that he made, he said that that is why he arrested her. But it is clear in the video that he said that she was under arrest when she was still sitting in her vehicle before they even left the vehicle. So he wasn't kicked in if he was ever indeed kicked. Okay, now you hear her at the back of the police officer's car saying that she has epilepsy and that she was in distress because of the way he was handling her, and then he smacked her head against the ground and so forth. Anyway, fast forward to jail. She's booked. She goes to jail. She's there for 3 days. And somewhere in that period of time, she contacted her sister and a friend, from what I understand, to see if she could be bailed out. And her bail was nominal, but no one apparently could help her get out of jail. So she turns up dead in the cell after the 3rd day, hung by a trash liner cord or whatever, and from her wastebasket, because she was in isolation. And then they found out that isolation meaning that she was in the cell by herself. And they found out at some point that she had been suicidal at some point in her life for miscarriage of a child or so forth. Now, there's a whole lot of people concerned about this woman being killed or dying in police custody again. The police officers were both on administrative leave, desk duty, or something of that sort. The police officer that initially stopped her, pulled her over, they say that he was not black, nor was he white, but he was Hispanic. The police officer that showed up to support him was a black female. And they said that most of the staff at the police station that attended to her processing and so forth were black or Hispanic. So that it couldn't really be a racial thing. Is that true? Why couldn't it be a racial thing? Because whites are not the only people that don't like blacks. There are a lot of people that don't like blacks. There are Asians that don't like blacks. There are Hispanics, even in this case, that don't like blacks. No reference to that police officer per se, but I'm saying that it does happen. You can't say just because it wasn't a white officer arresting this young lady that it was not racially motivated. You can't say that. I don't care if it's black folks working alongside Hispanics. It doesn't mean that the Hispanic officers care that much about the black officers. They just have one of those situations where they get along because of the job that they have. Now, the woman is dead. There are people saying that the coroner is investigating it and it might be deemed as homicide as opposed to suicide by her. Now, this is my take. This is how I really feel. If a police officer is supposed to be a peace officer, then he or she is supposed to be able to deal with the community in which they live or get out of the profession. It makes absolutely, positively no sense at all in light of what we all see in the video and have seen in the video to have arrested this woman, period. Police officers deal with individuals like her and even worse than her from day to day. She was not, by any stretch of the imagination, one of the worst cases. Yet she was arrested for what? Answer the question, why was the woman actually arrested? Non-compliance? So I'm speaking to you, I'm the so-called citizen, and I'm speaking to the police officer, and my tone is a little incensed, my attitude, and my voice is a little inflated. And I don't comply with you by you asking me to get out of my vehicle or to put my cigarette out. And I didn't threaten you. I didn't put my hands on you. And you make me or force me to get out of my vehicle. And then you wrestle me to the ground, arrest me, place me in jail. And then I end up dead 3 days later. Again, what's the reason she was arrested? What is the reason that Sandra Bland was arrested? What's the reason she was arrested? That's what needs to be investigated. Now, was an arrest warranted? I say irrevocably, no, it was not. She should have not been arrested. I don't care if she was suicidal 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago. That has no bearing on or the possibility of this woman committing suicide in jail. Even if it did have some bearing, the fact is she should have never been in jail in the first place. Never. And the fact that she was arrested and it was not necessary to be arrested, he could have just stood there and wrote her a ticket and sent her on her merry way. He could have done that, but he did not. Now here we have again another black person in police custody. Let's forget the racial issue as far as white, black goes, because anyone can be prejudiced against blacks. But we have another black person in police custody dying. Unnecessarily so. So now a mother has lost a child, sister has lost a sister, her family has lost a family member, friends have lost a friend, and so on. For what? What is your opinion? What is your viewpoint? This is not my opinion. This is my viewpoint, and this is my factual viewpoint, because anyone with any kind of good sense knows if you objectively look at this video and put two and two together, it was never necessary for this woman to go to jail. I don't care how irate she was. I've seen worst case scenarios when people should have went to jail in a confrontation with the police, and this was not one of them. It's terrible. It is a tragedy again. And there are people saying that she should have just complied with the police. In light of the things that we have endured as a people in this country, I understand compliance. I will say that she could have handled the situation better. She could have spoke with a little bit more decorum or respect with the police officer, but she was not anywhere over the line in her behavior and her attitude. She was nowhere to that extreme, not to the point where it warranted her being arrested again. This police officer just wanted to have control. He wanted to have power, and when she did not comply immediately to him, he had to show her that he had the power. That's it in a nutshell. And she ended up suffering death in this particular case. So in my viewpoint, the police officer should be reprimanded. I believe that the police officer should be fired. I honestly do. But oftentimes in that code blue system that they're in, they say, well, you know, we protect our brothers in arms and this type of thing. I understand that mentality or mindset. And it's hard to have a fellow brother lose his job in the line of duty. We know there's been many instances where police officers have been found guilty and the brotherhood, if you will, have swept it under the carpet like it never existed. I hope that this is not one of those cases, because it should make these police officers think. Think, and when they go out into the field, apply that knowledge or that understanding or hopefully a revelation that I have to learn how to deal a little bit better with the public, or I don't need to be in this job capacity. Well, anyway, I'm looking for your comments. I await them. You can like this video if you desire. I appreciate it. And if you subscribe, I appreciate that as well. But above all, let me hear what your opinion or your viewpoint is. This is Reginald, also known as Brother Teacher. I will see you in the next video. So long.